I'm Mike AD, and welcome to the Delta League podcast. And this week, it's the regular season week 2. And we're gonna get right into the action, because the action was fast and furious. But before we begin, the beer, AD. Now, we're going to start on Monday night in Atlanta. And in this one, Atlanta hosts Miami and Salt Lake City. 3 sad sack teams, if I ever saw them. Now, in this one, Atlanta wins this one. Atlanta 21, Miami 19, Salt Lake City 13. So, Atlanta captain Grant Nahn says that he's been the victim of a local mob boss who's threatening to beat him up if he doesn't pay. How about threatening to beat him up if he doesn't play? That might improve the performance of the team. But, in all seriousness, the police are now involved to make sure none of his next of kin are in any danger. Looks like another guy is heading out of town. Now, that's not the only news out of Atlanta, where Inferno assistant captain Armando Kyoto was caught having an affair with the wife of his teammate, Indigo Bard. I guess Bard didn't know that her wife swings both ways. This is going to create some real team dynamic problems. We're in week 2, and 3 players are getting a divorce. Divorce lawyers love Delta League. Now, Miami player Marquette Weaver got into the news later this week when he made some comments on his personal podcast. He's not exactly a fan of the LGBT community. So, if they try to make him wear no rainbow jersey shit, he ain't doing that, and he'd rather sit out. Now, I quote, he continues, if any of these keyboard warriors want to meet me in person to challenge my views, I'll meet them after the game in the parking lot. And he said, but they won't do that. They'll attack me from relative comfort with their fat fingers and soy latte. I have 0 time for these freaks who insult my beliefs while they continue to force their beliefs on me and the rest of society. Fuck them. I wish that guy showed the same vitriol on the court. This team would be a whole lot better. Now, it's only been 2 weeks, and SLC fans are sick of owner Phil King. There's some kind of online petition to get them to sell the team to Utah Mammoth owner Ryan Smith. That guy owns all the teams in Utah. But I don't think Phil is gonna let go of it that easy, especially since that fire last year that gutted the interior seating. Nothing ever seems to come from these petitions. Did you notice? Now, for Atlanta, leading the way was captain Grant Nahn with 5 goals. And believe it or not, it's not a typo, Jamie Ekstrom with 21 blocks. Not a typo. For Miami, we had Mendoza Middleton with 10 blocks. And for Salt Lake City, no one put up jack shit. And in the end of this one, Atlanta picks up the 4 points. Miami picks up another 2 points. And Salt Lake City, nothing. Now, let's move on to Wednesday, where Phoenix is hosting Dallas and Denver. And in this one, Denver wins it. Denver 37, Phoenix 21, Dallas 18. Dallas player Goldie Crowley got black carded in this match for some real rough stuff. The reason they let go of Phillips and picked up Crowley was because she doesn't do this shit. Now, as it appears, you think you know someone. Now, in this game, Denver player Dan Holguin made a potential defensive play of the year, and he committed grand larceny against Demetrius Lindbergh. Christ, was that ridiculous. I mean, even more ridiculous was the fat female streaker who came out of nowhere and tried to tackle him to the floor. To the victor, the spoils. Now, after this game, Sky player Vince Howitt gave a possibly the most profanity-laced interview in the history of sports. There are approximately 22 F-bombs and 8 motherfuckers in 3 minutes. And what was he so riled up about? Don't know. He must have drank 6 Red Bulls and thought he was Jesus Christ. Now, the league and the team are going to fine him, because that was motherfucking cocksucking fucking fantastic ass licking motherfucking ridiculous. Now, for Phoenix, leading the way it was Drake Beck with 5 goals. For Dallas, it was Lo Ang and Bernie Tully with 5 goals. And for Denver, it was Pooh McCarthy and Larry McMaster with 8 goals each. And in the end of this one, Denver picks up the 4 points. Phoenix, 2 points. Dallas, nothing. Let's move on now to Saturday matinee, where Detroit hosts Boston and Montreal. And in this one, Detroit gets a 2-way tie with Boston. Detroit 22, Boston 22, Montreal 17. Boston assistant captain Dudley Cashdan went full hardcore on Montreal player Lalo Celli, earning him a trip to the swamp as a result. Montreal player Lalo Celli happened to fracture his kneecap, so he'll be out 6 weeks. After this game, Montreal rookie sensation Gus Partenza says he really doesn't like the neighborhood and he wants a trade. Is this guy serious? Like, you lost 2 games and you want to quit? What a big baby this guy is. Learn French, fermez la bouche, and do your job. Where did they get this guy? The WNBA? I mean, we don't trade people because they're sad. Suck it up, big boy. Jesus, man. This game also included a bachelor party spiraling out of control. At least they saw half the game before they were carted to the wagon. I think Detroit fans should savor this moment because this looks like an aberration and not a massive improvement of this team. Too bad the groomsmen weren't there to see the Rock pick up the 3 points. Now, in this one, for Detroit, Wilt Davola scored 6 goals. For Boston, nobody mustered jack shit. And for Montreal, Gus Partenza scored 6 goals before crying in a heap in the corner. And in the end, it was Detroit and Boston picking up 3 points each, and Montreal again getting 0. Now, let's move on to New York, where the Fire Demons are hosting Washington and Philadelphia. And in this one, Philadelphia picks up the win in a close one. Philadelphia 33, Washington 31, New York 23. Now, Philadelphia player Ariel Vignola was shown the door after some less than savory behavior after a whistle. In fact, the entire team got a warning from the official. And I mean, this is not good. I mean, reffing this game was Benjamin Spooner, who's a rookie ref, and he didn't take any shit from these players. He went right to the ticket printing machine and filled out an infraction for everyone. Now, this one is going to result in a fax from the league that includes a section where they have to sign a check. Now, Shred player Jermaine Jardetsky is very unsatisfied with his team performance and thinks that the management should make some trades. Yeah, you motherfucker. You scored one bloody goal. Don't give these assholes any ideas. Now, just as the Shred are exiting the court, I mean, a New York fan said something to Cyrus Holleran, and he could have said, you know, fuck you, or flipped them the bird, or he could have said to himself, we won this game here, screw this guy, and just walked out. Nope, he flashes the guy. Stay tuned for the verdict on the Delta players committing indecent exposure. After the game, drunk fans, smashed windows and looted the Delta League merch store. The losses are estimated to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. You say you want to win, right? Not sure many arrests were made, but those who were there say it was pure pandemonium, and angry fans smashed and grabbed what they could, while others just watched the situation spiral out of control in awe of how badly it escalated. Now, for New York, leading the way, it was Ruben Nygaard with 6 goals. For Washington, it was Elix Henderson with 8 goals, and Jimbo Grover with 8 blocks. And for Philadelphia, it was Ray Rogers with 8 goals. And in the end of this one, Philadelphia picks up the 4 points. Washington, 2 points. New York, nothing. Now, let's move on to Memphis, where the Pharaohs are hosting Toronto and Chicago. And in this one, Toronto wins. Toronto 47, Chicago 39, Memphis 15. Well, Memphis captain Khalil Claudel had a bad run-in with organized crime this week when he face-washed a high member of a local gang for disrespecting an old lady. And then he pulls a gun on him, and Claudel tackles him into a fruit stand. And the thug fled down the street. The good news is he's behind bars. But if I'm Khalil, I'd be trying to get out of town. Now, earlier in the week, it was revealed that Chicago player Finn Wehrle has been having an affair with fellow teammate's wife, Georgios Dokidis. Dokidis has been home, suspended for a DUI and other infractions. So apparently, they traveled to other locations to meet and hook up under the guise of going to exotic locations with the girls. Dokidis found this out. This trade deadline is going to be packed with action. Now, Chicago players Oscar Zenga and Ivan Goss went down with groin injuries. Zenga for 1 week, Goss for 2 weeks. Here we go again. Now, Memphis player Neil Conlon went down in this match also with a strained pec. He'll also be gone 1 week. Now, for Memphis, nobody gives a shit. For Toronto, Travis Valencia scored 9 goals. And for Chicago, holy smoke, Star Palmer with 13 goals. And Cameron Baptista with 10 goals. So, in the end of this one, it was Toronto picking up the 4 points. Chicago 2 points. Memphis, nothing. Now, let's move on to Seattle, where the Pirates are hosting LA and Vancouver, and in this one, Seattle wins it. No surprise, but holy shit. Seattle 51, Vancouver 26, Los Angeles 14. So, this one, actually I have no notes. No notes. Nothing. Just pure domination. So, Seattle, Chip Chiozzi, 13 blocks, and Tommy Anastos with 10 goals. For LA, we had Marty Hagar with 5 goals? 5 blocks. Marty Hagar with 5 blocks. And for Vancouver, it was Bernie Pukila with 6 goals. And in the end of this one, Seattle picks up the 4 points, Vancouver 2 points, LA nothing. So, let's take a look at the standings. At the top here, we have Seattle and Denver with 8 points. Detroit in third place, 7 points. We have Chicago, Toronto, and Washington with 6 points each. We got Boston with 5 points. Then we have New York, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Phoenix, and Miami with 4 points each. And we got next is Dallas, Salt Lake City, and Vancouver with 2 points each. And LA, Memphis, and Montreal with nothing. Now, let's take a look at the goal leaders after week 2. We'll start from the top with Star Palmer, Chicago, 24 goals. Rob Donohoff, Seattle, 22 goals. We got Laurie Moss and Cameron Baptista, 19 goals each. We've got Corbin Womack, Tommy Anastos, Mohamed Karnasale, and Ariel Vignola with 14 goals each. We got Travis Valencia and Elix Henderson with 13 goals each, and Chip Chiozzi, Seattle with 12 goals. Let's take a look now at the block leaders after week 2, with Jamie Ekstrom, Atlanta, 23 blocks. Alan Adam, Memphis, 15 blocks. Chip Chiozzi, Seattle, 14 blocks. Vlad Millet, Mike Brenton, Mendoza Middleton, 11 blocks. John Stein and Jimbo Grover with 9 blocks each. Cyrus Holleran with 8 blocks. And 4 players with 7 blocks each. Now, before we move on to the league news, we take another swig of beer AD. So, League Commissioner Darcy DeMello has come down on the Philadelphia Shred for the incident with official Benjamin Spooner, which resulted in Philly losing their composure, rushing the official, which caused Spooner to lose his composure and almost throw the game out entirely. The result is thus. Due to the actions witnessed on Saturday, which could have led to all the players receiving black cards, all of the players of the Shred will be given 2 yellow cards for this incident. This becomes much more important now that the league has adopted an accruing yellow card policy as well as their standard black card policy. Now, as a result of the looting of the league merch store in New York, the league has deemed this incident to be an isolated event and will add extra security to these stores. If copycat crimes like this begin to occur, they may be forced to close the stores and revert back to an online store exclusively. Now, word on the Cyrus Holleran flashing incident. Now, according to the New York State statute, this is a violation or a misdemeanor depending on the circumstances. Now, Holleran said, the guy was railing on me the whole game. I said, F it. F you, suck my dick. So, do I regret it? Sure. But that guy deserved more. Well, the police have decided not to treat this as a charge of public lewdness, which is a Class A misdemeanor, which he can spend 90 days in prison and end up on a sex offender registry. Now, so based on the circumstances, Holleran will have his day in court, but in circumstances like this, it's a $250 fine and maybe some probation or social work. But Darcy sees this differently. Now, he says, given that this incident was done in front of our fans and the fact that children were present shows that how little impulse control Mr. Holleran exhibits. 2 weeks in prison is the maximum fine for this crime, but I want to make it very clear not only to Mr. Holleran, but the entire player roster that this will not be tolerated. He's going to be suspended for 4 weeks. This commissioner is not fooling around whatsoever. Now, on to the mailbag. Now, Maddie V says, what is going on with all these players having run-ins with organized crime? This is not a good look for the league. If you think I'm supposed to assume innocence in all these cases, you thought wrong. I'm not that naive. He tends to think that all these players are involved in like organized crime. I don't think they are. But the problem is, when you become higher profile, you also become a target for crime. So we can assume at this time that all these incidents, 3 incidents in 5 weeks, this just may be an aberration, because of all of last year, there was not one legal incident involving any of our players. So we'll just treat this as an aberration until we can justify it otherwise. Now, real Piero Barone. I don't know what's wrong with the Maelstrom. I put some serious money down on that team to win it all. Maybe I should take over and make some trades and put them back on track. I don't think you could do much worse, buddy. I think this Maelstrom team is much better than the record demonstrates. I mean, 2 games so far, and they've come out flat. This can't be sustained. The team is too good just to burn it all after 2 games. Now, we have 15 games to go. But, one thing is clear. Someone needs to give Gus Partenza a stern talking to. You can't just bail on a team 2 weeks into a season. Nobody told this guy that losing is part of sports? I mean, welcome to the big leagues. I'll still put money on Montreal making the playoffs, though. Look, Philadelphia turned their season around with 8 weeks to go. Same with LA. The structure of this league means nobody is truly out of it until it's over. Now, what's happening here? We got Poison Gas Man. His name is Poison Gas Man. Poison Gas Man. What teams do you think have been most pleasant surprises? And who are the actual contenders? So, you want surprises, pretenders, and contenders. Detroit. I mean, getting 7 out of the first 8 points, that's wild. Montreal being the drizzling shits is funny based on the expectations of this club. And the real contenders are really Seattle and Denver. And whoever can stay out of jail. Now, let's move on to next week's games and predictions. We'll start on Monday, where Denver is hosting Phoenix and Vancouver. Something is seriously wrong with this Vancouver team. As soon as they flipped the switch into the regular season, the lights went out. Is it a lack of talent? Hardly. Is it a lack of leadership? Quite possibly. Denver is going to win this game. Phoenix isn't as good as last year, but the Orcas keep beaching themselves on the shore. Now, this team needs to help itself lest they drown before the season even gets started. Now, on to Wednesday with Chicago hosting Dallas and Memphis. Now, just when you think Chicago has got their shit together, you look down at the roster and 4 guys are out already. I mean, Dallas and Memphis have been painfully bad to look, and you know what? I don't see any end to this trend. This is going to continue, and Chicago is going to be the benefactor of shitty opposition. Now, let's move on to Philadelphia, who is hosting Boston and New York. And Philadelphia came up with a big victory last week, while New York just inflicted such a stinker on the home crowd that they rioted and looted the merch store. Boston is always interesting because they're that kind of underdog that will occasionally sneak up behind you and rip out your intestinal tract. I'm going to take New York in this game and Philadelphia to come a close second. Now, let's move on to Montreal, who's going to be hosting Toronto and Detroit. And sooner or later, this Montreal team is going to break out. But it's not going to be this week. And at the same time, I mean, sooner or later, Detroit is going to return to mediocrity. And the problem is Toronto have been hit and miss. I don't think this Toronto team is so mediocre that they can fuck this up. Toronto wins big, double figures. Now, on to Miami, who's going to be hosting Washington and Atlanta. And last week, Atlanta squeaked out a victory over Miami. But that was because nobody showed up for that bloody game. So this week, Washington is in town, and Miami and Atlanta are on the menu. Now, Washington is going to win big. Now, lastly, Salt Lake City hosts Seattle and Los Angeles. This Seattle team may very well go 17-0-0-0. Now, this year, SLC certainly aren't going to stop them. And the wild card is LA. And they currently don't have the weapons to deal with this West Coast arsenal. Pirates for 4. LA for 2. Join me next week when the action continues and never stops. See ya.
This is Delta 2.